Hello everyone, this is Jotto, and welcome back to my complete Valiant Dawn expansion set review. For this episode, we'll be doing Order. Now, since I'm kind of making a theme of this, amendments to previous videos. Yet, the thing about doing a set review day after day after day is now I've played in some release events. So I have a greater understanding of the cards themselves, and thus there will be less false predictions in the last three than there were in the first three. Although I've been fairly okay so far. The only one I've got to amend at the moment is my judgment on Bezarok. Not because of Bezarok, but because of the deck he fits into. It turns out the Reanimator is actually quite good, and he's very, very good in Reanimator. I did talk about how he's a bit disappointing, but he works really, really well with the new Reign of the Underworld. He does work really, really well, and the reason is because you can sacrifice him at will, and that's why he's good with Reanimate. And there's Eleanor, and the deck just works. It comes together, and it's very, very potent. How potent? We will see. But it is definitely very, very strong when I played against it, and it definitely kind of made me have a little bit more respect for Bezarok, although I'm still kind of on the I'm on the sort of like, well, you're going to reanimate him, but probably never play him in a deck just to hard cost him. So that's kind of my amendment there. But yeah, that's the only thing I really have to talk about before we move on to the meat of this particular episode, Order. So first things first, let's start with the skill shrine. Militant Citadel. You have Rune of Courage for 1 and 1 generic, 0 mana, 2 turn cooldown. The next level 1 creature you play this turn costs 1 less. Oh boy, the skill shrines have not really impressed. I think Mausoleum's quite good, but the rest are just not. The problem with this is that you can't use it to ramp because you have to go 2 levels. And the other problem is that Mono Order doesn't have any card draw. So in Mono Order you could play this, but you're just going to run out of cards. And if you're playing 2 color, there's probably a better skill shrine. And that's basically the problem with Militant Citadel. I mean, it's going to be a problem with future skill shrines as well, as they have to compete, but this one's just too weak. I think this cycle in general has been a bit too weak. I mean, the Wisdom one is okay, the Dominion one's okay, but you can't play it because of the other skill shrines, and the Corruption one is okay, and the rest are kind of borderline unplayable. So yeah, the cycle of skill shrines have been a little disappointing, but it is difficult to compete with some of the powerhouse ones in the game already, to be fair. Pegasus, 1 mana, 1 order, common, 1/1, 2 speed, flying. Charged right without a second ability. I mean, it's bad and constructed because you've got other options. If you're playing 2 color, there's better 1-drops, and if you're playing single color, you've got the Incarnate and also Steel Spearman and also Relic Guard. So once you play Trials, you probably want more than this, so yeah. Generic card, looks a bit like a token, but it's actually not. Generic card, not very good. Armory Supplies, not Armor Supplies. Armory Supplies, 2 mana, 1 order, common. Attached to a creature with 2 speed or more, this creature gets +1, +2, and -1. This is interesting. When this creature dies, return Armory Supplies to your hand. So it works like Mantle of the Winds and like Murder Instinct, or Murder Instinct, I think is what it's called. It's an artifact. Couldn't be a blessing because that would be insane. But anyway, it also feels like an artifact. I like this. I don't think it's overpowered or anything, but I do like it. You can put it on a CFC, Cavalry Field Captain, to make it into a 3/4 with 2 speed that can retreat out of combat. You can put it on some of the new creatures, maybe works with some of the soldiers' decks. You can use it as speed manipulation. Oh, that's hilariously inefficient. You can use it as speed manipulation. I like this card. I think it's really cool. How good is it? I'm not sure. I would not be shocked if this saw play, but yeah, I'm not convinced, because you'd already have Touch of Light. We'll see. We'll have to see. The fact that you get to reuse it is a big deal. -1 speed can be kind of brutal, though. If you put it on a 3 speed guy, it's nice. I think I'm going to reserve judgment on this, because I could see it in play doing good things, but I could also see it as being just not worth the card slot. So, decent. Worth testing, I think is where I'm going to put Armory Supplies. Probably on the lower end, but worth testing. For Trials, I imagine this thing is probably decent. It's very, very versatile, and you can put on stuff like library guards, and that's really good. So anyway, decent card. Angelic Temple, 2 mana, 1 order, rare. It has the loading screen as its artwork. Starts with 0 energy, is a monument artifact. When an allied priest enters the field, gain +1 energy. As long as Angelic Temple has 2 energy or more, it is a 3/3/2 flying angel. That's important for Triangelica. Also keep in mind it's still an artifact. I think this is very good. Very, very good. I really like this guy. There's so many priests. There's some new ones. There's some old ones. There's so many good priests. Like Namir. Like Relic Guard. Nah, Relic Guard doesn't see too much play. But anyway, you got like... it does in some angel builds. But anyway, you got Namir. You've got the New Dwarf, which we'll get to. You've got Sunblessed Emissary. You've got Spell Warden. There's a ton of them is the point. There's a lot. There's Angel Blessed Knight. Those are all priests. So I think you can reliably get this swinging on turn 4, which is pretty powerful. That's really good, in fact. So I think this is really good. It does open itself to artifact removal, but that's more of an incentive to just run artifact removal as universal now, which you may have to, considering all the artifacts are so powerful. But yeah, I think this is a really, really good thing. It also works really, really well with Triangelica. Dwarf Musketeer. This guy's back. 2 mana, 1 order, common, 2/1, 2 speed ranged. The dwarf, the soldier. Oh, this guy. He was removed from the game because he wasn't very good, and he was replaced with the Spellbreaker because they needed to add an extra spell removal. It was the patch when they just decided to give everyone some form of spell or artifact removal, which was good. Spellbreaker was a decent soldier, and this guy's also a decent soldier. I think Spellbreaker is slightly better, but Musketeer is a decent card. Also, with some elves around, he's good against elves. Really bad against rage, but he's good against elves. He's bad against rage and dominion and corruption. And yeah, 1 HP hurts. Nice trials card as well. Having an extra 2-drop common is kind of nice for order. Solid guy. Probably won't see much constructive play now. I think there's better options, but decent filler card for trials. Happy he's back. He's a cool guy. Solemn Prayer. 2 mana, 1 order, common. Spell, choose 1, put a shield emblem on an allied creature, gain 1 life for each priest you control, or return a creature with mana cost 2 or less from the graveyard onto the field. Now, the other abilities exist, but they probably won't be used much. Shield more than life, but yeah. So what might be used? The half and instill. The half and instill ability. Now, I have talked about this with Raijan particularly, and also on the podcast. I don't think it's good. The more I think about it, the less I like it. Because Instill is only good because it's a 2-for-1. Solemn Prayer is just half an Instill, but you still have to pay the card, so it's probably not as good. And if you're running Solemn Prayer, you'll be running 4 Instill, and do you really need like 6 total Instill? Probably not, because they do clog your hand up quite a lot, and some of these decks only play 3 anyway. So yeah, it works with Mesmerizing Spirit, but so does Instill is the point. It's just not Instill, and Instill is the value card. Instill's a value card. Solemn Prayer is a toolbox card, not a value card. So, but it has to die. I don't think this is worth it. I do not think this is worth it. I think the card advantage is necessary as part of Instill. I'll put it that way. I think this will just get beaten out by Instill for card for slots in a deck. I don't think the card is particularly bad. I think it's okay. I don't think it's good. I think it's reasonable, but I think Instill is just better. For Trials, I don't like this thing. I do not like this for Trials. It's too situational. Exorcism. 3 mana, 1 order, uncommon. Instant, destroy a curse, a summoned creature, or a creature of evil with level 2 or less. This looks amazing. Until you realize it does literally nothing against nature, wisdom, and order. Literally nothing. There's like summon creatures, I guess. But there aren't that many. Like, there really aren't that many. So it'll barely ever kill anything, and it does literally nothing apart from... No, it does nothing. Against the evil factions, I would have said this is decent, but you got Arrow Barrage at this slot, and also Ray of Righteousness can destroy any spell. So that covers one of the modes. It can destroy any summon creature, basically. Or not all, but the relevant ones, the big ones, the scary stuff you actually want to remove. It can destroy, and it can destroy any creature of evil while also being good against the other aspects. So I think this just, much like with the last card, Solemn Prayer, this just gets beaten out by another card that exists, Ray of Righteousness, which, for the record, will be a very, very good card moving forward. Speaking of Arrow Barrage, 3 mana, 1 order, uncommon, action, choose frontline or support line. The enemy hero distributes 4 damage among creatures he or she controls on that line. This is pretty much the only good distribute card, I think, out of the normal ones. Like, I think Blood Frenzy's a bit gimmicky, but yeah, it's a bit gimmicky. I don't think it can actually work. Like with Forced Labor, maybe, but it's a bit gimmicky. So the point is, why do I think this is good? Well, first of all, it allows you to do something order comp, which is removal early game. It also deals with early aggro, and you can use it to single target stuff down on back or front row if you have control of the board, to some extent with flyers, which is what order is good at. So our barrage helps you out a lot. It lets you single out things and requires your opponent to play around it, so they will probably have to move everything back or everything forward. So I really do like it for the early game removal. It does drop off hard by late game, and I mean hard. It becomes borderline unplayable late game, but for the early game, it is very good, and that's where order was kind of weak. So I think our barrage is a very, very good card. Felix, the Lightsworn. 3 mana, 1 level, legendary rare, 3/3, 2 speed, support. As long as Felix is on the support line, it can't be chosen as the target of enemy spells, hero skills, cards, or card powers like Nimir's Blessing. At the start of your turn, move Felix to the front line, and if you have 2 order, 2 generic, he gets +1/+2. He's also a knight. Now, this guy's been in the game for ages because of the secret card program, and we did try to get him to work. He wasn't quite good enough because he's just an elite vanguard that you can't instill. He didn't quite work in Angels, which was the only deck he could have fit in somewhere. It didn't work out. It just did not work out. And you got Arrow Barrage now at that mana slot, and the late game punch is not as good. 4/5 is just not as good as it used to be. Yeah, he's not really that good against Dominion decks either anymore, because they've got Cloning Vat to intercept attacks from him, and they already have Cataclysm. Still dies to Harpy, because he moves himself forward and then dies to the Harpy awkwardly. So, yeah, although you have to play Felix first for that to happen, by the way. But anyway, so he looks promising. He just hasn't worked. He just hasn't worked. He does look promising. He just did not work out. He just did, and I'm sorry. He looks very, very cool, but he just never quite worked out. He's not unplayable. He will probably see some play, but he's just never quite been good enough in the current creature power level. And with the expansion, the creature power level in a lot of situations going up, maybe not for long, because I think a lot of those cards are nerf-worthy, but for now, he just can't compete. Reincarnation Spirit, one of the best artwork pieces in the set. Love this artwork. 3 mana, 1 order, rage, not rage, rare, yeah. 2 mana, what? Okay, start again. 3 mana, 1 order, rare, 2/2, 3 speed. That was terrible. I've done a lot today, okay? I always record these at the end of my day, so I'm a little bit tired. But anyway, flying, you can play Reincarnation Spirit from your graveyard with a Might emblem on it. When Reincarnation Spirit dies, if it had a Might emblem on it, shuffle it into your deck. It's also a spirit, which does come up occasionally. So this is a weird card. It's a value engine. So you play it as a 2/2, then you can play it as a 3/3 out of your graveyard. 3/3 with 3 speed for 3 mana, that's good. 2/2, that's bad. There's a big disparity there. I don't like this guy. The reason I don't like is he dies to a lot, and he's not that good for value, because you probably got other stuff you want to be playing the next turn, and he has to die to actually do something. If they put like a weakness emblem on him, it's just terrible, because then he has to die to do anything. And if he dies twice, he goes back into your deck. He's a lot of value, but I don't know if he's actually enough power. Like, it may not be the kind of value that's necessary. Especially with a lot of the value engines that the other aspects have now. You got Burning Rage, Nienna, Cloning Vat. These are all things that Order just can't deal with. Well, they can deal with Burning Rage, but they need Ray for that. So it's inefficient. But anyway, so you got Burning Rage, Nienna, which is hard to kill. You've got Cloning Vat's impossible to kill for Order, and then you've got even the skill shrines out of corruption. Like, you're not going to win these out of value. You're going to win these out of just having bigger creatures, basically, and having life gain win condition and just bigger stuff. And this is not really part of the game plan. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about it. For trials, though, solid creature. Pretty good, actually. Steelnor Bear Rider, 3 mana, 1 order, common, 2/3, 2 speed. For 2 mana, you can give it +1/+1 speed until end of turn. Use this only once during your turn. Use this power only during your turn and only once. Sure. I don't know why that restriction's on it. I mean, okay, the second one I get. The first one being only in your turn, I guess, so you can't just leave mana open and just always have a combat trick, because that's what Order kind of does in Trials. Yeah, I don't think he's good. I do not think he's good in... Well, in Constructed he's awful. In Constructed he's... Don't even try. He's a soldier, but don't even try. In Trials, maybe he's a decent common. 2/3. You need mana open for him to be useful. He has a bad body unless you have the ability up, so I'm going to say not good, but he's not unpickable. Oh boy, Soul Projection. 2 mana, 1 order, 1 generic, uncommon. Sacrifice a creature. The enemy hero distributes X damage among creatures he or she controls, where X is the sacrificed creature's attack. Exhaust each creature that was dealt damage this way. This, I mean, I slagged off the totem. This, I think, is the worst card in the set. Oh my god, this is bad. I actually forgot about it completely when I talked about the totem, and when I did the podcast, Peacekeeper was like, Soul Projection for worst card. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely a contender. It basically does nothing. It basically does nothing. In fact, it does less than nothing. It hurts you. So compare this to Arrow Barrage. What do you need to do to make this better than Arrow Barrage? It costs 2. Okay, it costs 2. So you need to sacrifice a 4 attack creature to make it better than Arrow Barrage in 99% of situations, because the exhaust is not that useful when you just sacked a creature. You have to sacrifice a 4/4. Probably. Or 4/5. What? That's not worth it. What are you sacrificing to make this useful? Adriel? Really? No. No, you're not. This is a terrible card. Do not try it in Constructed. Don't pick it in Trials. It's an awful card. Possibly the worst card in the set. Along with Insignia. But yeah, one of the worst cards in the set. And then we've got another one of the worst cards in the set. This may be bottom 5. Insignia of the Sun. 3 mana, 1 order, 1 generic. Rare. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, +2 energy, starts with 2, and for 1 energy and exhaust of itself, so you can only do it once a turn. Look at the top card of your deck. If it's a soldier or a knight, put it into your hand, otherwise put it on the bottom of the deck, and you have channeling, and you can use the energy to pay for soldiers or knights since it's an artifact. This is such a trap, it's insane. So let me talk about why this is bad. Like, at first I was like, could be interesting. No, it's actually just terrible. So maximum... You'll have half of your deck being knights and soldiers, right? Because you have to play Insignia of the Sun, you have to play your other spells that you need Ray of Righteousness, etc. And if you're playing Mono Order, which you probably are if you're playing this thing, because you don't have any other draw, you're probably also playing Incarnate, which is not a soldier or a knight. So 30 maximum, accounting for shrines as well. So that's a 50%. That's a 50%. So you play it 50-50 twice. It cycles for 3 mana. Over 2 turns. Ouch. That's bad. Anyway, so what about the rest of the stuff? Channeling, sure, you can play a Namir off it, but you could just play the Namir. So let's look at the first ability for why it could be playable. You attack with 3 more creatures, it gets energy that you can use through channeling and drawing, and it could be good. Well, the channeling doesn't come up much because you're down on cards anyway. The... +2 energy, if you're attacking with 3 creatures reliably, like you need to attack with 3 creatures twice and then spend 6 turns drawing cards for this to be good. Because then at that point it's 3 mana, 2 levels, 6 turns to draw 3 cards. What? How have you not won the game, first of all? If you're attacking with 3 creatures twice in a row in order, like these things are like 3/3s or bigger. Like you have killed your opponent by that point. Yeah, this is terrible. It's unplayable. Don't even try. Same goes. I mean, why is it top 1? It could be top 2 or 3, and it'd be really good. If it had 1 energy and looked at top 4 with the rest of the abilities, I think it could be good. But, like, or maybe even 2 energy, I don't know. Yep, you can only get 1 card. Yeah, 2 energy. 2 energy, remove the channeling. 2 energy, look at top 4. That's how much better it would have to be. Because then it's just 3 mana, draw 2 over 2 turns. It's still not very good. You do get some card selection, though. So yeah, terrible card. It's also an artifact, so it doesn't even work with Sunblessed Emissary, which is the next card. Sunblessed Emissary, 3 mana, 1 order, 1 generic, rare, 2/3 with 2 speed, 2 energy, human priest. Channeling, you can use Sunblessed Emissary's energy to pay for the mana cost of blessing cards. And whenever you use energy to play a blessing, you draw a card. This is a very, very good card. The support isn't there. So, we had this as a secret card, and it didn't really make much of a splash. I mean, Massive Assault was pretty much it. Like, when it came to, like, stuff you could do. And there's also Angelic Blessing, and Namir's Blessing, and Path, and that it was all kind of cutesy stuff. It wasn't actually very reliable. So, we were thinking, oh, new blessings. It could be really good. No, it's just Expedition out of Wisdom to draw some extra cards, and that's about it. There's basically nothing else. So, I don't think this will see play. It's a very powerful card on its own, but it just doesn't have the support. It might see some play if you can get it to work. You're playing like 3 emissaries, maybe some Path, maybe some Expedition, and then you don't have to play Ancient Wisdom. I don't know. I don't know. It's... Yeah, I don't know about this. I think the engine just doesn't work. But the card itself is good. Keep an eye on Sunblessed Emissary in future sets. I could be wrong, but yeah, I don't think the support's there. Descendant of Divinity. 4 mana, 1 order, 1 generic uncommon. 4, 6, 3 speed. What? Okay. It's a knight. Descendant of Divinity can only attack a block alone. Fair. Descendant of Divinity can attack a block an additional creature. Whew, okay. This thing is massive. Massive. What on earth? The flavor text is kind of funny, by the way. He's riding a lion. It's like, well, it's better than riding a goat. Because I imagine riding a lion is probably quite difficult. This thing, though. Whoa. Okay, so, first of all, I don't think he's overpowered compared to the rest of the set, because the rest of the aspects can deal with them easy. However, if you play this against, like, nature and they don't have a bounce... Okay, you're reaching there a bit. But anyway, if you play against, like, rage, good luck. If you play against, like, corruption... Oh, that's game over. Let's just show how powerful this guy is. 4, 6, 3 speed. Keep in mind, 4, 6, 3 speed for 4 mana, and he can attack 2 things at once, block 2 things at once. Now keep in mind, if the block gets intercepted, it blocks both attacks. But he has 3 speed, so that's unlikely. And when they're attacking your stuff, he can still block. So they need to tie him up every single combat. He's an incredible combat, just dominator. Now, what's my comparison for how insane this guy is? Let's look at a card that never quite made it, but a lot of people do like. Knight Escort. 1 mana less, half the stat total. Literally half. Same rarity even. Think about it. 3 speed is basically double 2 speed in practice. I know 4 speed is technically double 2 speed. When you're really looking at it, 3 speed is so much better than 2 speed, it's insane. So, twice the attack, twice the health, well, not quite twice the health, slightly less than twice the health, 6 instead of 4, almost twice the health, 1 increased cost, better ability in my opinion, much better ability in my opinion. The only thing it doesn't allow you to do is just alpha strike, so just attack with everything. And it costs 1 more. It's insane. Compared to Knight Escort, it's just not even close. The only thing that maybe balances out Kayanu, but we've seen that doesn't really work. So yeah, this Lion Rider is super strong. Also, may single-handedly make Order decent in Trials, although everything's relative. Yeah, this thing's insane. Very, very powerful. Not overpowered because of the rest of the stuff, but it's like, its only weakness is it doesn't do anything when you play it. Which means it just dies. Like, you're still going to lose automatically to random stuff like Landslide and things like that. But that's just kind of expected. But as a creature, he's incredibly good. As a creature, he's insane. Will it be enough to make Order into a really solid deck? Because Angels is struggling a bit right now. And there's no other Order deck that's doing well. I don't think so. Not with the rest of the cards coming out at the same time as he is. He's on that list of like 10 way too pushed cards. But I don't think he's enough to make like anything Order too good. This is a funny comparison. Kedrigan Warpriest. 4 mana, 1 order, 1 generic, uncommon. Exactly the same as the previous card. 3/2, 2 speed. When Kedrigan Warpriest enters the field, put shield emblems on up to 2 allied creatures, so you can't put 2 on the same creature. Oh my god, I don't think this is playable even without the other cards at this mana cost, or at just this point in curve. It's competing with Guardian and Descendant, like, good luck. But the thing is, it doesn't have, like, the body on it's terrible. 3-2 is awful. It gets fumed, it dies to, like, everything in rage, and, like, you can put a shield on it immediately, I guess, but it's a 3-2. Like, you play this, your opponent plays Phoenix or Erelak. Like, it's not even good against Rage. So, yeah, I don't think it's good at all. I do not think War Priest is that good at all. You already have combat tricks, you don't need this, and soldiers could probably just play an extra Master Tactician instead, or can play like Descendant, and then you've got Guardian, and there's so many other good things at this mana cost and such. In Trials, decent card, but I still don't think is that good, because you do need a board to actually make it work. So I'm going to say this is not a good pick in Trials either. Gomor Ironbeard. My pick for the best order card. I think it is either Gomor, Descendant, or the Angel from earlier. It's one of those three. I think it's Gomor. 3 mana, 2 order, 1 generic, legendary, epic, 5/4, 2 speed. At end of turn, you can choose either Lifebound, 2 HP, or 1 speed. So not either, since there's 3 options, but anyway. And when you have 2 order and 2 generic, you can choose it twice. Now, this guy is crazy good against, like, fair decks. There's a lot of unfair decks running around right now, but it's crazy good against the fair decks. Think about it. 5/6 immediately. Next turn, he's a 5/6 on their turn and yours. He doesn't have any slot when he doesn't have his bonuses, because it's until the end of your next turn. So he's not just good on defense, he's good on offense as well. And then next turn he becomes 5/6 with 3 speed if you need, or 5/6 with Lifebound. So he's gone defense and can swing. This guy's amazing. He's so good. His only weakness, he's also a priest, his only weakness is bounce and hard removal. The reason is he doesn't do anything when you play him. Same problem as Guardian, although Guardian is way better on defense because she can actually block multiple things. But same problem as Descendant, doesn't do anything when you play him. He's just a brick wall, but he doesn't actually do anything when you play him. He's not as much of a board dominator as Descendant is, because think about it, you play him, he has 1 less speed, and then next turn he's a 5/6 being only block 1 creature. So Descendant is better at board control. Gomor is better when you have other creatures you want to be attacking with. Very powerful guy. I don't think it's enough to make order good, though. The reason is because they're still fair creatures. And the reason I say fair creatures is they have massive stats, but they're at a point in the game when you can remove them pretty easily with other aspects outside of rage. But yeah, order destroys rage anyway, so outside of I think they beat the burning rage decks as well now, so yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, they just destroy rage again. However, when it comes down to it, you play Descendant or Gomor and it gets helmed, or Soul Flames, or Cataclysmed, or Infernal Tribute. Yes, I'm bringing it up. Or people could be reanimating stuff at that point. You've got Ray of Righteousness, Landslide, you get the idea. Whereas with something like Minotaur, it's huge and it's early. So the point is you can actually do something with it without your opponent being able to just straight away use it and just mess with you. So, yeah, they're very strong creatures, but they're just not enough, in my opinion. There's not enough. I think Order still has the same weaknesses, and it's really going to come back to bite them, especially since Spellwarden's worse than it used to be now, because Helm is going to be everywhere. That goes past Spellwarden. Dr. Styx kills Spellwarden. That's huge. Yeah, it's still a problem, and I think I don't think this is enough to make Order good, because it's still very one-dimensional. The only thing that really helps, I think the stuff that helps out Order the most in the set is not the big creatures, it's Arrow Barrage. It may actually be Arrow Barrage. Like, I think the stuff that helps out Order the most is going to be Angelic Temple and Arrow Barrage. Now, why did I say Gomor is the best card in the set for Order? Well, because what makes the biggest impact and what is the strongest card are two different things. Because what's the strongest card in a vacuum versus what's the strongest card in practice with other cards revolving around it. Been looking at my collection for 45 minutes. But anyway, so what is the strongest card in practice versus what's the strongest card when you look at it straight up? Now, well, I think in terms of raw power, I think Gomor and Descendant are probably the highest that Order has in this set, although we haven't gone over the last card, but yeah, it's terrible. We'll go over in a bit. I think that Angelic Temple and Hour Barrage fit where Order needs the help, as opposed to Gomor and Descendant, which just like strengthen already strong parts of the Order decks, which is your Guardian slot and things like that. You got an extra one there to make a big impact. But the other two cards just fill a slot. They may be less powerful, less impacting, but they fill a slot that Order doesn't have. Whereas the big creatures later on is something they kind of already do. So yes, they're powerful, but they're not going to strengthen it where it needs it, is my point. So anyway, last card in Order, Prosperous Ruling, the Grand Reunion for Order. 3 mana, 2 Order, 2 generic, legendary, epic. It is a blessing so there's your Sunblast Emissary synergy. Whenever you play a creature card, choose one. Put a Might Emblem on that creature, pay 1 to gain 2 life, or pay 2 to draw a card. This is awful and it's hilarious. Like, first of all, I just want to point this out. You have to pay 7 mana to be up 1 card of Prosperous Ruling. And you still can only cycle. You can't build your hand with this. Like, with Burning Rage, you can use cantrips to build your hand. I guess you can technically use, like, stuff that tutors. You can use Brother-in-Arms. You can use Champion the Revolt to draw cards off this effectively. It's really good with the Slave. That becomes 2 mana, 2/2 draw a card, but I mean, at that point you're playing 2 colors. Why aren't you just playing Cloning Vat? Or even if Cloning Vat gets changed, which it probably will be, why aren't you just playing Basic Alexa with Stronghold Metropolis if you're playing Dominion? So, yeah, so it's a mono Order card, right? But that's a lot of mana. That's a lot of mana, and your opponent has probably already won the game. And at that point, you should be playing Antriels every turn and Stilling and doing these. This is not the card draw you need. This really isn't. And it only works off play. It doesn't work off enters the field. And the Might Emblem is the only one that doesn't cost mana. I mean, if Grand Reunion's slow, then this is like next level. Yeah, this is a very, very bad card. The Grand Reunion cycle, let's just cover this, the 3 that we've seen so far. So, the 3 that we've seen so far or the 4, yeah. Scatterdoor's Bidding, let's see if I can remember the names of these. Scatterdoor's Bidding, The Apocalypse, Reign of the Underworld, Prosperous Ruling, is it Reign? Yeah, alright, I got that. And now I need to actually check whether the, alright, let's actually, let's check if I got these right. So, yep, Scatterdoor's Bidding, Reign of the Underworld, The Apocalypse. Okay, feeling good about that one. But anyway, so the problem with a lot of them is they're very slow. Now, having seen some of them in play, The Apocalypse is too risky. It's okay, but it's a bit too risky because you don't have any life gain, and the games it's good in, they have life gain, you don't, so you do take a lot of damage. So Apocalypse isn't very good. It might be played somewhere though. Scatterdoor's Bidding is quite good. I've played it a lot, and it is quite powerful. It's not overpowered, but it is quite powerful. It punishes the super grindy decks. It's also part of the reason why Dominion's kind of unbeatable currently. But anyway, and the Corruption one, the Reign of the Underworld, is probably too strong, partly because of the sack. The sack outlet with Bezarok is what makes it too strong. But it also is just really annoying. Like, I played a lot of games where just nothing happens. So those 3 are all quite good. Prosperous Ruling is awful. It's just terrible, 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 terrible. I can't even say it enough. It's awful. Like, never gonna see this in play. It's awful. Like, Grand Reunion is okay, but it never quite made it. Maybe it will now, but probably not. It's a bit too fair. But anyway, for something that costs 4 levels and requires multiple turns to keep going, it's a bit too fair is the point. So, Prosperous Ruling is the worst of them out of those 5. But, I mean, I haven't talked about the new cards in Nature or Wisdom yet. But anyway, out of the 5 so far, Prosperous Ruling is the worst. And it's basically completely unplayable. And the fact that Grand Reunion's unplayable kind of shows how bad it is. So what do I think about Order in general? Now, I did talk about this a lot when I was talking about what I thought the best Order card was. So, let's start with Trials, since I already talked a bit about the constructed thing. For Trials, I think it got a bit better. it was kind of bottom before. I think it got a bit better. It might still be the worst, but it'll be a bit closer to the pack. At the bottom, at least, as a secondary color. Since you got Arrow Brush, Musketeer, Armory Supplies, some decent rares, and, I mean, Dominion is everywhere, so Exorcism is actually quite good in Trials. And you got Descendant, which is Tier 1 uncommon. That's crazy good. So you got some decent stuff. You did get some decent stuff for Trials. You also got stuff like Soul Projection, though, and Pegasus. So, slight improvement, but not a large one for Trials. For Constructed, I think it's actually going down, because Dominion is getting so much stronger that I think it actually might be completely unplayable. And against demons, you can't even stop, consume, or word of pain anymore with Spell Warden, and it just hurts. And yeah, it's rough. It's really rough. And there's Landslide Vulture, and it's gonna be really, really rough to deal with for Order. So I think Order is gonna be the worst aspect moving forward, probably. Haven't gone over the other two aspects for good yet, but out of the 4 aspects so far we've gone over, Order is the weakest by far. Like, by far, by far, by far. It is the weakest. Like, Dominion is the strongest, and then you had Corruption, then Rage, and then Order is way weaker. So I think Order is going to be very rare to see in Constructed for this set, at least with the current balance. For this set, it's going to be really rare to see Order, so sorry to break it to some people, but yeah. It might see some play as a secondary color, but as a primary color, I don't think it's good. I'll probably leave it as that. I could be wrong, as always. The ingenuity of the Spellweaver community goes beyond my my understanding sometimes. I try to contribute to it as much as possible with the decks I make, but there are other people that are better at making decks than me, and also just see the game differently. Like Rajan, who just comes up with the other forms of decks that are really, really strange, but sometimes work. So anyway, that's about it for Order. Next up will be Nature, then we're doing Wisdom last, because I still have to evaluate some cards out of Wisdom. And yeah, I need to test some stuff because the wording on it's a bit weird. But yeah, so I'm doing Wisdom last just because I have to test some interactions to figure out how the cards actually work. So anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, want to ask me any questions about the cards I talked about, put it in the comment section below. If you want to support the channel directly, there is a link to my Patreon in the description. And if you're new to the game, there is also a 75,000 gold referral code with the Disquisitive Spirit Card Back that you can punch in to get a little bit of a head start. But as for now, it's been Jotto, signing off.